Welcome to the Port Charles Update with your hosts, Mish and Mel.
Hello.
Oh, week 2 on new technology.
Yes. I'm like, they don't know that. They're like, we're looking at different graphics, everyone. So the saga continues.
Oh, it sure does.
Right?
Tell me all of your brain thoughts.
Okay. So I love how, Drew found a way out. I mean, not that it was all that hard with Willow. All he had to do is say, "It wasn't me." And she was like, "Oh my God. It never even occurred to me. Thank you." Thank you, word, according to Drew. So I had a laugh when he was at the hospital. I mean, I saw Mac and Felicia in the background, but then when he ran over to Mac, and then when Mac offered, security footage, basically looking into the complaint, because what do you want Mac to do?
Yes.
But then when Drew said this, I was like, oh no, I don't know. Now you don't want to waste resources? He told Mac, I don't want to waste resources in you gaining security footage.
Yes.
But then for me, I'm like, okay. So walk me through this. You're like, no, don't gather concrete evidence about the crime I'm reporting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rely on my memory because it'll come back soon. And once I access my memory, it'll access the portal behind my head where I'll have full-blown access to all of the stuff that happened behind the bar that I didn't see. And I'll take that to court.
So they're just going to plug into my brain and that will help my case, guys.
Wow. Because you being drugged, it's like you didn't see it. You know what I mean? You could remember things, but you're not going to remember the plot that happened before you. You know what I mean? Before you drank anything. Because you weren't involved in the plot and you didn't see it happen. Because if you saw someone pour something slowly in front of your drink. So that whole thing I thought was ridiculous. But I mean, he went full force. I mean, he had a press conference.
Okay, but just getting back to using resources, he's using all of his resources and the people he knows and are blackmailing to use the city's resources to get revenge on Sonny.
Oh yeah, there's so many wasted resources. And for Nina, because Willow just packed up her stuff. She's like, I'll follow you to the hospital. How humiliating. I am sorry, but how much love makes you immune to humiliation?
I guess the kind we witnessed.
Apparently, you know what I mean? Because even if you're like, okay, fine, you were drugged, some part of you is going to be like, I love you and all, but this is I just can't with this. You expect me to be seen around with you after everything? She doesn't ever take time to process at all, right? This footage came out hours ago, and then she shows up at the hospital. You're showing up in public and you don't have results yet. Taking your very public drama and adding fuel to it a little bit. I'm sorry, but Amy had a right to comment. You're all up in there.
But her life is now public. I don't think she gets that not only is your circle going to comment on you, so then you decided you don't want people to talk to you, but then you go live on TV during his press conference.
Oh yeah. You're like, Amy, mind your own business. And even before she gets to the hospital, she had walked in on Nina and Carly. What did you think would happen when she had walked in, or what she might have heard?
Honestly, I don't think sound noise was working. So I definitely feel that she didn't hear anything, but she had built up anger. She was upset that Michael wouldn't see her, and the closest person to Michael is Carly. So she just unleashed on her, and Carly kept her cool and let her say what she had to say. But I really think that's the only reason she acted the way that she did. And she has mommy as backup.
But do you know what I think is really funny about Carly? I feel like she's just so used to, she's a very direct person. She's not, shy about a confrontation. That to her, confrontation is pretty much a conversation. And I love that no matter what's being said, she's like, oh, you saw Michael? How is he? She flows between the insults, the confrontation, and then regular conversation. And it's just fascinating to kind of watch, to the point that she doesn't care. She's like, okay, I'll contact you next time before I see
It was so good. It's so true the way you're saying it, though. But I also feel that part of that is because she can't take Willow seriously for anything. Because it's like a child throwing a tantrum. So she just lets her throw the tantrum, then says the things she needs to say and moves on.
That is true, though. That does capture the dynamic. But what was funny was like she acted all tough, right? You know, like giving it back, laying down the
Mm-hmm.
law, being like, you can't have just such easy access to your grandkids. Meanwhile, she's telling Sasha, like, Sasha, we should bury the hatchet, okay? Because these are Michael's kids and you slept with his uncle. So we're family. And I'm like, meanwhile, the conversation with Carly. Um, and so as soon as she leaves, she goes to her mom, Mom, do you believe Carly? And I was like, get a brain. Like, get a brain. You live in Port Charles. I'm sure brain transplants exist in this universe.
Readily available.
But I just find this hilarious. Like, she just can't help but outsource her thoughts. Like, if Drew's not thinking for her, it's her mom.
But even Sasha made mention to that.
I know. And she's like, you can't possibly be. She's like, yes, I am. Because I loved it. Like, when Sasha made those digs about how she does kind of go with what everyone tells her, that was amazing. Because Sasha's the one who articulated that whole from dawn of day to dawn of Drew.
Yes.
Like, quoting us, basically. But
Yeah.
she's the one who kind of can concretely express and describe Willow in that specific way. So it was really interesting that she kind of went there. And I, again, like, a lot of people have been hammering the same message this week. The same message about, like, you know, we get it, right? Like, why you'd have to believe him, like why you'd want to, why you don't have a choice to, because of
Yes.
everything you've done so far and all that you've lost. Like, you want a return on investment. I mean, she, like, before she was getting yelled at, but now this message I find hits a hell of a lot closer to home.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. And then the minute, like, you're talking about all this stuff, and then she's talking to Dr. Gannon, and I'm like, she's looking at him with such stars in her eyes. I'm like, oh, is she going to jump ship to this one? No, listen to
Okay.
what this one says.
That's like literally what her eyes said. But when she went to go talk to Isaiah, and then
Yeah.
he told her, you know, I think it's pretty cool that you like trusted your gut. I swear, the look she had on her face was like, wait a second, do you know where it is? How can I
I know,
access
what's a
it?
gut?
Like, because like all I hear is Drew's voice. So do you know any? Can we do an exam? Like, this girl does not know where her gut is. And just because that's the thing, when you stand by someone, right? Because that, like, everyone talks about how it's, you know, Willow and Drew against the world. Like, that is their whole vibe.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying, you know, it was the issue we had with Nina, right? We have like our extreme villains, we have our day-to-day villains, and a lot of the ones we love are the ones that like own who they are.
Yes.
And that was the problem with Nina. She couldn't own what she was doing or face what she was doing. That, you know, maybe she did something she shouldn't have done and it really messed things up. But you know what? She wants what she wants anyway. Like, Ava's like that. Ava absolutely
Yes.
owns who she is. And it makes her likable. And with Willow, there's just, she can't own who she is. And she's in this spot where she really needs and wants other people to kind of tell her, you're making good choices. Like, she's really, really desperate to have someone else agree with her. And she can't really find those people. So I'm just saying, like, she's so far from her gut. She's so far from her own thoughts, and she's not going to get any closer continuously running to other people for reassurance, for validation, for what they think. It's like, this is your choice, and she's not even reflecting on it, like, at all. Like, I think even when Nina tried to ask her a pretty hard question,
Mm-hmm.
and it was really cool to see, like, Willow, like, the defensiveness right there. Like, they basically showed us and displayed what her willingness is to hear what. Because when Nina said, I might ask you something hard, try not to be defensive, Willow was like, well, we'll see.
Yes, exactly.
And she was the one to begin to ask that question. But again, she asked Willow a hard question. But like everything since the whole blow up happened and everybody, like, and Michael streamed her night with Drew, she never stops to think too hard about anything. So even when Nina asked that question, she doesn't think too hard. Even when she says, everyone's saying these things to me, she's like, is it true? She moves on immediately. Like, she doesn't stop to think. I mean,
Yes.
it's annoying, but what would we do without it? There'd be no drama.
Exactly.
And I mean, we all know it's going to blow up. So for me, when I see these scenes, I just kind of expect and hope that when it comes out, it's going to be all the more satisfying. Like, I think we got a preview of it, but I mean, this is going to be a lot. Like, this is going to be a lot when everything crumbles for Willow, because even though she's mentioned it and it's come out that Michael didn't want to see her, she finally told the right person.
She told multiple people, and it's gonna, she told Sasha, she told Carly. Sasha's like a version of Carly, and it's all gonna get back to the fact that something went awry. And not only that, we have the hug with like the vitamins in a bottle with Drew. That's why he was at the hospital, guys.
But what was that? You need to get your immune system right after ketamine, or was that a signal that something else was wrong?
I'm pretty sure he was just trying to make it seem like the ketamine thing, and that he's gonna drug somebody himself.
Oh, that's not good.
Either drug someone, or like, could it be like a truth serum? Like, I just feel like obviously it's something nefarious, but it's like, what angle are they gonna take in the soaps, right?
Could you believe Brad?
I can, because
He's Brad.
He's exactly. But I was like, wow, that was like quick. But I guess the whole thing is that he saw his ex having a good time, and he's like, Portia's going down. I was like, okay, I guess that means like he's cutting ties. He has nothing left. I guess he's actually leaving, because they had an elevator scene, which reminded me of Friends when Joey was in the elevator scene. So I'm like, I guess this is goodbye, Brad, and you're going to just start a new life. But damn, that was cold.
Because you know, like how you weren't surprised that Brad did that? I guess for me, I believed in him. Like, I believed that he had changed. So I believed that Brad was in a place to take his lumps. Like, I thought that's who Brad was. Like, oh, I blackmailed you and now you're blackmailing me. Oh, well, and that he would have, like, continued. And then when he saw Lucas and that guy, because you're like, I want to get Portia, I want to get out of town. This is how I saw it. I'm going to get me a suit, and someone's going to love me, and I'm going to look like that. Like, I felt it was all, like, this jealousy over Marco and figuring out if he got the money and he got a suit that maybe he could get himself a Lucas. But then it turned out, like, he was done. Like, he was done with everyone. He was done with Lucas, and he really wants, like, Drew to go after Portia. And I'm just watching and being like, they're all outraged at what Portia's doing. I'm like, you both blackmailed her. Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
come on.
Like, Brad, you blackmailed her and then, like, kind of gave away the blackmail for someone else to use. And then Drew went in there, again, blackmailing over the exact same information. And the idea that she pushed back and they're like, oh, no, that shouldn't be. I'm just like, it's a lot. And Portia needs to score a point. And I just find their, like, circle of gossip just a little too small. You know, like, it's just way too small, and the circle needs to expand, because Brad blackmailing Portia, and then Drew using Brad's information to blackmail Portia, and then Portia does something to Drew, and then Brad knows about it, then Brad tells Drew to go get Portia. I'm like, this is not the kind of love triangle I'm into. Like,
no,
at
really
all,
not.
At all. It's just really ridiculous and constantly circling between the three of them. But honestly, I definitely did not expect the plan to blow up like that. Like, we knew that, like, it wouldn't make much of a dent with regards to, like, the Willow mission. But I do feel bad that it blew back to this degree on Portia. And I'm hoping she tells Nina. Oh, she doesn't know. Never mind.
Oh, no, she doesn't know.
She
exactly.
Doesn't
know.
Yeah,
she doesn't know that he knows. They know that he knows. Exactly.
Oh, no. And Portia's conversation, she does nervous really well. Like, her conversation with Willow was awkward. Awkward. What did you think?
Can I just well, I love, first of all, like you said, just her body positioning, the way that she moves closer, like, just makes me feel like an episode of The Office or something, where she's like, I'm gonna be your friend for a second. Like, let's be girlfriends. Let's just chit chat that your boyfriend's an a-hole. It's a lot, that because Willow, I wish Portia would record moments with Drew, like a hidden camera.
Me too.
Or I wish, like, Willow could hear from afar just how harsh and how he closes in on the space. Like, Portia was genuinely trying to get through to Willow and see if they made any strides. And in that moment, I felt so much for Portia. Like, I just felt bad for her.
I felt bad, but I was worried for her, because I'm like, tread carefully, because how quickly did Willow become, like, defensive? And I mean, look, it's fair, right? This is a public scandal, and your employee was at a press conference earlier that day acting like nobody would recognize you, or that maybe this could be an issue for the hospital as well, but wanting to know how your nurse is holding up. But I loved it. I loved it because it really was twisting the knife. I was there. I saw the body shots. I did. You know, he was drugged. Sure. And just watching how convinced she was. And the funny thing is, like, she's not wrong. He absolutely was drugged and he was set up. But the fact that she won't even consider a bad part to Drew. But no, I do think about that. Like, if Portia was smart enough to report Drew, but at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, like, Portia, like, how long are you willing to live like this? I know that Ava sort of said, like, just you could ride it out, like, think about what you lose. But at the same time, I'm like, your idiotic plan with Heather, like, you logged in with your own ID and you changed one result. You know what I mean? Like, you were asking to get caught. Like, it's not like you did that in, like, this brilliant way. You know, you had Brad get the ketamine. Like, your name is not attached to any of it. But with the Heather thing, that was such an easy thing to find out.
I know.
Easy. You know, like, if anybody could have demanded a retest and I would have noticed the discrepancy. Anyone. And so at this point, I'm like, I think you should just, I hedge your bets on this. I think you should just call his bluff, or at the very least tell Curtis.
I know, like, of all the things, like, Curtis, as he is who he is, but he knows everything that's going on with Jordan. Like, he understands why people do certain things, and Portia and him, they kind of still keep secrets from each other, like his deep friendship with Jordan and Portia's crimes. But yeah, I think that 100%, if they band together, he would be okay with it, because guess what? She would have been honest, guys.
But he likes to be the hero, right? And Jordan would never let him be the hero. And I think with Curtis, it's still up to him, right? To decide what's good, what's bad. Like you say, he understands why people do what they do. Why Jordan is doing what Jordan's doing. And knowing Curtis, you know, he decides that that's noble. He's not going to think that what Portia did was noble. He's going to think it's ridiculous. I already know that you did that Heather thing. Why on earth would you allow him to hold that over your head? Why didn't you come to me? Why didn't you let me be your hero?
Oh gosh, so true. I can hear it.
Yeah, like it's, and plus he made it really clear to Portia, I'm no Willow. So don't expect me to stand by my spouse when they make a mistake. But I have to go back to Willow and Sasha. Because if you think about the conversation Portia had with Willow, she obviously was uncomfortable. She didn't think it was professional. She kind of was like, doctor, like at the end, being like, don't talk about personal stuff like that with me. And what drove me nuts with Willow and Sasha is like, listen, when Sasha comes to the hospital, she's a patient. The fact that she says, I want another nurse, and you try to like go, hey, you know, we're going to have to learn to tolerate. No. That's a personal conversation. This is a patient coming in. And in that moment, it's Sasha's voice beyond everything. And if you were professional, you would put her care first. And if you feel so strongly about connecting with, you know, family, air quotes, then why don't you go talk to Sasha? Why do you keep using all of her doctor's appointments to air your crap?
Because it's like just... It reminds me of like when Nina was basically torturing Carly but still wants to be your best friend.
Yeah. That's what that it's literally that though. It's really that. Like Sasha is the Carly and Willow is 100% the Nina. Even Nina knows she's the Nina. Like the way she was going off with Curtis, it was just funny watching her vent. And even better was when Willow walked out and saw Curtis. Hey, Curtis, I don't know what facts are, but I'm going to pretend I do to have this conversation with you. Because I'm going to start by telling you, I love that you love facts. And I love that your articles have facts. I'm just hoping that you'll write another article about more facts. The fact that he was drugged. No, the facts are there was ketamine in his system. There is no evidence to suggest that he was set up. And then she was all disappointed. And then did you see the face he made? Did you see the face he made? I was like, Curtis, you're supposed to do that after you turned your head. That was like everything to me. I'm like, this girl is losing it. And I mean, she did tell Isaiah. But again, I think it's more than just the judge. She does want people to start seeing things her way. But the other part to that is she's absolutely correct. If there is no proof, which there really won't be, that he was drugged or set up, it looks terrible for Willow with regards to all the decisions she's made.
Oh, huge.
And I really would like that to get started. Really
I'm ready for the demise, like sooner than later.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a custody thing. Like, let's go. Let's do this thing.
I know, like I'm here for it. I want it. Like I feel like they're, doing the whole spiral to rock bottom. Scout, we don't know when she's coming back. We know that Drew is up to more shenanigans in different ways. The lies are like compounded now, right? So like lied about Michael, got her to that. Then he's got like this vial of something. We don't know what he's gonna do with that. He honestly, when he walked into that weird meeting of minds at the Metro Court, I felt like he was high on something there.
I mean, the way that he acts sometimes, like his eyes smile would be like, what kind of maniacal stuff are you on? Like, I literally feel like I'm taking the villain antidote and it's so good. It makes me do all kinds of villain stuff because he's a completely different character with other people. But when he walked in though, right, the conversation he walked in on was, I was just like, am I hearing this? Because you had Marco breaking down the perception of Sonny, how he's received by the elite and how he's received by the common man, and talking about how charismatic he is. Again, bunch of stuff I had talked about in my article, but I'm like,
yes,
they're gonna do this? Are they gonna do this? Like, they're gonna do this. Like, they're gonna do this.
I really want them to do this.
Because, like, I mean, while this is a referendum on Sonny, in that meeting, they're saying that we need another charismatic face to go up against Sonny. And then they were like, Drew, and I'm like, oh, how are you going to spin that? But, I'm sure they can. Jordan seemed really optimistic about that. But that was just really interesting, right? Like a Drew versus a Sonny, but more in the court of public opinion.
Yes.
So the worlds of politics and mob life kind of colliding. What do you think is going to happen though? Sidwell wants to buy Sonny's pier for a lot of money and thinks that once he has Sonny's pier, no one's going to care where the Esplanade goes. So even though he's pushing for the Esplanade to go onto Sonny's property, okay, he's saying, no. Once I buy your piers, like, no one's going to care. They're going to put the Esplanade in the original location, and then I'll have your piers, for fun.
He said,
for castle living, just me castle living here with Sidwell Inc. or Corp or whatever.
Like, here's we know what we want to see. Even Jason's like, sell the piers. But he's like, okay, well, we got to get rid of some things. So if we sell the piers, we don't have access to get the things we need. Then I run for mayor. Maybe we can do this in parallel and then just get rid of the whole shebang.
My brain is starting to hurt because when they were in that meeting, I'm trying to do the math here. And I'm like, okay, but what if Sonny squashes the whole thing? Because the idea is Sonny owns the piers, and due to his business, there's a lot of crime. But Sonny is like
air
desperate,
quotes crime,
right? Allegedly, and so Sonny is desperate to get out of the mob. So in my head, I'm thinking, what would the point of a referendum be? Okay, if Sonny goes, you know what, guys? I'm loving the whole Esplanade idea. I have no problem if the city wants to build the Esplanade on my property and pay me rent. Like, as in, I'm going to get rid of my business. Like,
yes.
I don't know what that would do, and I don't know if you're allowed to do it. Because I'm like, when Sidwell wanted to buy it, I'm like, well, is he buying it to have the Esplanade there? But then he's saying that, like, the whole eminent domain thing, like, Port Charles could just seize the property and make it theirs. But can you do that? What if, like, because imagine, this whole thing is we want the Esplanade here. This is a referendum in Sonny. And if we put it here, they're going to have less crime. What if he's like, okay, yeah, you could build here, but I'm still going to be the owner of it and profit from that. Like, I don't even know if that's possible. But if Sonny says that, then what are they going to do? What do you fight over? Because now you're going to fight him. Oh, you like our idea, but now we want to take more from you. Like, in terms of how the common man will see that, it's not going to go over well.
No, but I love the idea of Sonny investing in property legally.
I do find it hard to believe that a soap opera who's had like a mob in the show for so long, that rather than it be handed over to, like, generationally or somebody within Sonny's circle, that just a random outside person's going to come in and just sort of be the mob. Like, I find that odd. Right?
Yes.
Like, I know Sidwell is there, but I'm like, is that really a solution? Sonny's out, and then Sidwell is just the new mob boss. Like, I find that a bit strange because it goes against everything we've kind of known and the fact that everything is generational. So we just sort of always expected someone else to take it over. So there's a lot here, right? Mob to politics, who's going to take over, what's going to happen to this property.
But I was also thinking too, like, Jens has a way of, like, was he actually saying, hi, I want to buy your pier, equaling, I want to take over your mob territories? Like, was this like an underhanded way or a different kind of approach to really tell him that he's serious about just kind of taking over? And let's do it in a friendly way. Here's some money. Leave me
friendly
alone.
way. So I do think Sidwell is trying to, in this non-war, non-violent way, trying to secure power in Port Charles and bring whatever underhanded business he has without calling any attention to himself. I do. But yeah, he is trying to take what's Sonny's, and we'll see, like Jason doesn't want him to do it. So, because I just thought that's why I was getting concerned in a way, because I'm like, is that what we're doing? We're just having an outsider fill that mob spot. But then Jason came in and says, you can't do that. But then if Sonny ends up becoming mayor, he can kind of overrule whatever decision was made and make it eminent domain and do what he wants with the piers.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we'll see what's going to happen with that. And this week we got a continuation of listening to Dante talk about what loving Lulu means. Well, what did you think about his answer?
Oh my God. Like, the look on her face, if I could screen grab that and look at it forever, I did keep the episode, so I might just do that every time I'm annoyed with her. But he's being honest. Like, that conversation was definitely a hard one, and I can see why. She's 4 years ago in love with this guy. He tells her his honest feeling and then backtracks right away.
Yeah.
But it's the truth. It's what he's feeling. It is tough. Like, I don't feel for her often, but in that moment, he could have definitely said that differently.
Look, it was funny because when he said it, she's like, and he's like, look, I do love you, but I'm grieving Sam. Yeah. And immediately she's like, that's why I didn't tell you. I'm like, okay, by the way, Cody had to convince you not to tell him.
Exactly.
Like, you did not have this self-restraint. Even funnier, she's like, Maxie didn't have the right to share my secret.
I cannot with her.
But of course that's hard for Lulu, right? Nuance is not her forte. And to listen to the fact that Dante has mixed feelings that are actually quite heavy. And because of his grief, it does blur things, Like, you came back from the dead, basically, in a way. You know what I mean? Like, you come out of this coma, and he did love Lulu before she went into the coma. That's the whole thing, yes. Right? He was in love with her, and he believed that she had moved on.
Yes.
And so those feelings are there, but it is complicated. And we saw how he was at her bedside the whole time when he thought she was dying. But it's hard for Lulu. She heard everything she wanted to hear. And you see her light up like, oh my gosh, like we could have everything. And then he put a stop to it. Yes, it's really, really hard for her. But the thing is, the only reason he brought up this conversation was because he feels that the love that he cannot return to her is why she's lashing out at Brooklyn.
So
a lot of this stuff seems to center around Brooklyn.
Oh yeah, big time.
And then Carly and her timing, right? Just shows up. It
was amazing because it was getting really heated, and I'm like, okay, where's this gonna go? Timing wise, I knew she wasn't gonna say yet. I knew they're gonna like make us wait, and that's fine. But what did you think? I mean, I know you did that post, and it was a fantastic post, but like...
Which one?
The whole, Lulu's trauma versus Carly's trauma, and Lulu's still thinking that she has the right to parent someone else's child.
If this is so traumatic, how did you allow Carly back into your life? You know what I mean? Like, why is Carly forgivable, but the child who was involved? Like, let's not forget that Brooklyn was much younger. Like, I'm not saying she was 16. She was probably in her 20s or something like that. But the point is, why would the adult who hired Brooklyn be more forgivable than Brooklyn in that situation where she unsuccessfully seduced Dante? And I think that's what makes this whole thing so hard for people to wrap their head around, that that's where she's stuck. She might have had a 4-year coma, but so much life happened after that event. Like, the stuff that I was referring to in that post is like, hello, people stole your body parts and made 2 children. without you knowing. You know what I mean? Like, Britt stole your embryos and made a Rocco. Valentine made Charlotte. And you're telling me that wasn't traumatizing?
Oh, wow. Okay, so she never... Okay, all right. Yep.
The explosion you were in. I don't know. What about being in a coma and being terrified that your uncle might have, like, taken you, stolen you? Like, the guy that you remembered being scary, like, feeling trapped. Like, I'm just saying, like, so many other traumatic things happened to her. And, like, when I was watching that interaction, I just realized, like, why that even happened in the first place. Like, Carly just didn't decide, you know, like, I don't like you guys as a couple. She had it in for Dante because Dante had convinced Michael to confess to killing Claudia when Sonny was on the cusp of being acquitted.
Yes.
And during that whole time, I mean, it was heartbreaking. I remember the kids. Like, I remember the kids hating Dante for that. I remember when Michael had to say goodbye to his siblings and go off to jail. Like, it was a really serious and rough storyline, not to mention what happened to Michael in jail. Okay? Like, all of that was traumatic, and I found it was so bizarre to kind of make all light of that and be like, look, I think it says a lot about Lulu, right? Look at this thing that happened to me that didn't actually impact my life, really. I made it impact my life, but it didn't work. You know, Brooklyn did this thing for money, which was important to her at the time, and it never worked because Dante didn't feel that way about her. And even though he was drugged or whatever, he still did. That's funny. Dante was drugged and didn't act on anything.
Exactly.
Drew barely took a sip and he was like, hey there, how you doing? Like, that's what
exactly. Oh my God.
Yeah. So I mean, like, when that happened, not only did Dante do that, you know, Lulu having been Carly's cousin and Carly's family, she defended Dante to the death. Defended Dante to the death for having done what he did. And remember, Dante and Lulu at the time did not have kids. They just had very strong opinions about what's right and wrong.
Absolutely, always.
And Dante still does. This week they brought up a lot of old storylines, and it's so funny being able to revisit these storylines through the lens of the current storylines. So for Carly to bring up what Robin did and what it did to her, and then okay, this is where I mean, I think Carly was smart not to answer back when Lulu brought this up, but when they were talking back and forth about having a secret. And she said, you know, again, she gave her Robin example, but then Lulu said, but if it was Jason, would you tell him? And remember, Jason's not Carly's ex-husband.
Exactly.
Well, yes, he kind of was. It got annulled, but still not in the same way that Lulu shared a marriage with Dante. And Carly was sort of like, you got me there. It would be hard not to tell Jason. But I hate to say it, but like, Dante's no Jason.
Heck no. Then you can't even compare the two.
Like, as much as they had a marriage, they do not have that solid of a foundation. And, like, Lulu and Dante both have the ability to be really self-righteous. And there's not, like, it's not unconditional. They have a lot of conditions
they do.
For love. You know what I mean? They're not the people who can kind of love past imperfection.
Exactly.
Anyway, again, it's Brooklyn's choice. And Carly tried, but I want her to do this. I really
me too.
I want her to do this so badly. And I mean, she got more information. In the end, Lulu accessed
Sorry.
more information.
So
no, we're not going there yet. We're gonna start from the beginning. Okay? Okay, so Dante is frustrated, leaves that conversation and finds Lois, being like, and Lois is just saying, just stay out of it, Dante. Like, ta-da! But in a way with Dante, I was kind of happy that he wasn't being neutral, because I do find that, like, Lulu was a little extra. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes when you love somebody and they're acting a way that's not just harmful to others, but actually harming herself. Like, she really was, you know, hurting herself with this fixation. So he's with Lois, and then they get the call. So we already know that Rocco and Danny are at this party. And we already know that, like, I think Rocco spent the weekend, I think. on the beach, like until
Would
something
have been like 3 days, something like that.
something
1
like that.
hour to 3 days. We don't know.
So everybody winds up at the hospital. You know what I mean? Like, did you anticipate what unfolded? Like, did you anticipate Dante reacting that way?
No, not at all. But what I did think, because it was honestly really hard to watch, because it was like 3 days of Dante being Lulu. So I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm like, are they trying to make him unlikable so that we can see there's a future with them, and deep down they're quite similar? Because right now I do not like him. That's how I felt.
Okay, so when I saw Dante react like that, I was like stunned, and also stunned that Lulu was quiet. For like a girl who cannot stop herself, she
Right?
was awfully silent. And I mean, I think it's fair. There's a lot of shock, and Dante was really scared and angry, and I think his anger was what came out the most. And this is the question, like, I want to kind of grapple with, okay, because it really, really was hard to watch, and absolutely it's there to kind of ramp up conflict between father and son. I didn't expect this though. Like, I didn't expect this conflict because we already saw them in a way starting to set the stage, right? So in the, like, a little bit before, there was maybe a little bit of a hint of a possible friction between Rocco and Gio in terms of Sonny. So we saw that. We saw that Gio was present twice in scenarios where it's like, you know, Lulu was sort of acting out, and then the second time Brooklyn was like screaming about Lulu. So I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And then we already knew the dynamic that like Gio already had this close relationship with Dante.
Yes.
I did not necessarily expect them to kind of throw in another potential thing about a conflict between the two of them, because, like, I mean, Gio's like a classical musician. Like, he plays the violin, and he's like, you're rotten. You're just like, like, who raised you? It's like, well, he's an orphan. So, I mean, the community, like, Lois stepped up. Like, it was just so ridiculous when he's like, people were so protective of him. And I'm like, what is happening here? So, like, while I do understand ramping up conflict between Dante and Gio, and I know a lot of people felt like, okay, well, the writers are being crazy, this is ridiculous, but I'm actually asking myself, like, is it, like, of course it's extra, or we're not used to seeing Dante like that, but I have to admit, when I was watching it, and I was watching harsh Dante, I'm like, surprised Dante could be harsh?
No, not at all.
So
We just haven't seen it in a really long time.
exactly. So there was a part in me, because, like, we both love to just dive into the story, right? And even when things are kind of extreme or characters are not acting like themselves, sometimes we try to get into it and be like, but what would motivate him to do that now? Because that's what it is in life, right? You never know how you're going to react to things, and we all have like a million different versions of ourselves. So let's remember, Dante's been pretty calm. You know, he lost Sam, but like, that's it. He lost Sam. His ex comes back from a coma after 4 years. And yes, he's sad, but he's been pretty like, okay, Sam's gone. What do we do? Okay, we're going to keep the kids together. We're going to do that. Okay, there's this whole conflict with June and Scott. Okay, that sucks. Let's just keep taking care of the boys. And that was that, right? And then it was like Lulu came in. And then he was like, okay, now I'm caught up with all of Lulu and Brooklyn's drama. So, I mean, he's been grieving. And then this is like the thing that tips it over the edge. The possibility of losing a child. I really feel like every feeling, like, he lost Sam, but their whole family, like, everything got dismantled. His everything. You know what I mean? Like, that family of 5, they're just sprinkled everywhere. You know, there's 3 together, Scout's somewhere, Sam is not there, they're not in the same house. Yes, he has the support and everything, but I mean, his life is not the same. So for me, that's what I was trying to look at. I was actually trying to be like, you know, like, how do I make this make sense? And for me, I just feel like this is where everything Dante's been dealing with finally explodes, because this does make sense. You know, like, for Drew, he went through so much trauma, but he always walked around with a smile on his face. And I'm like, that makes like no sense.
Right?
None. So for Dante, that's how I see it. And I remember the time when Brooklyn was pretending to have had a baby, and she was spending a lot of time with Chase. Oh man, like, it's funny to watch like Dante be all like protective of Brooklyn, because during that storyline, he was so harsh when it came to Brooklyn. I remember when she was like falling for Chase, and they were at, I forget whose house it was at the time. It couldn't have been, oh no, I think maybe I think Brooklyn and Chase ended up with the house. So they were in this house with the baby. They had moved out or something like that, because they were in the house that Curtis and Portia are currently in. And while Brooklyn was in the kitchen, Dante was talking to Chase, and he was really talking all this crap about Brooklyn. And I don't know if it was to protect Chase from like falling for her, if he saw something, but he was talking so much crap about Brooklyn at that time.
I remember that. That was messed up.
Yeah, and then like even when he met Sam, he was harsh there, or like when he was talking with Sonny, and then there was like this moment of like hopelessness. Like even Sonny was losing patience with him and being like, whoa, like you were a kid once. And then when Dante started going, if I had lost Rocco, like, I don't think I should keep going. But then it brought me back to, like, Dante was in a pretty dark spot after the WSB too.
Oh, yeah, big time.
You know, and Sonny really, like, pulled him out of that. So I guess for me, yeah, like, it was just a lot, but those are all the things that were coming to me when I was watching him behave that way, even though it was really hard to watch him behave that way.
It's a really good perspective, because you are right. He has this darkness. He's changed since WSB. He hasn't truly processed, because everything has changed so quickly, and he's had to adjust and look out for his kids that he's never really, and then make sure that Lulu doesn't do anything crazy and being stuck in between Brooklyn. And he had his moment, and it was a lot.
No, there was a lot of damage there. Like the way he went at Gio, and when Gio was talking to Emma later, being like, now I know what he really thinks of me, because it's like, this is a person that's known you most of your life.
Yes.
And now you're learning. And I mean, look, Gio's young, and he took those words to heart, and he tried. And just the fact that he kept going at Lois, and like, it's not like Gio didn't want to step up. Gio took the word seriously, but I just couldn't take him threatening everyone with legal action.
Yes.
And the fact that Rocco already had told him what happened earlier in the hospital room, and he still kept pushing at the idea that Gio was the one who fed Rocco alcohol. I just couldn't with that.
No, that was really messed up. And like, I loved what Emma had to say to Gio. She's like, wow, when people look at you, like, they really think you're a bad influence.
Thank you. That's all I kept thinking. I'm sure even Lois was like, what the hell? And I mean, look, for Lulu to be the voice of reason, that should tell you how far off the rails you've gone. But like during that whole thing with like Dante and Lois, and then you have Lulu in the background, like, I'm just saying, if you're going to check on Dante, like, you probably should have stepped in way earlier than you did. Like, you didn't go for that. You went for the drama. Because if this was
100%.
Yeah, because like, I'm like, it was bad. It was bad. And if we're all capable of putting the kids first, then I would have stepped in, because Gio didn't deserve any of that.
No, he didn't.
And so when I was watching this argument, and Dante's pushing and pushing and pushing, and I mean, you're wondering, is Lois going to blurt something out? But when it happened, Johnny looked at me and he was like laughing. Like, he was just laughing at my reaction, because I think I was just stunned. Like, she's like, you don't even know who he really is. I was just staring at the TV stunned, and I said, that is like the weirdest thing to say in a fight.
Right?
Johnny just died of laughter. And I was like, I was like literally stuck. I'm like, I can't believe she said that. Like, usually in a fight, people are like, do you know who I am? Or do you know who he is? But to say, do you know who he really is? I was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, and then you see Lulu, and I'm like, just when I thought all the all caps typing was done.
I know. No, we got it leveled up, friends. Leveled up the note taking.
No, all caps is coming back, and now, like, but what is it? Like, what is it that Lulu is doing? Because, like, based on what Lois said, it's like, oh, it's Gio. Because she just said to Dante, you don't know who he really is. And explain to me why she's searching for Lois's whereabouts.
Okay, but here's the thing, too. Lois also said, you don't recognize his heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Lulu, I don't know, like, how busy her life is outside of this, but she made a voice note to herself.
Yeah.
To look into Gio. Like, did we all think it's something she would forget, that she literally had to put a voice note in her phone about?
So the whole note to self thing on her phone, it was this: where was Lois when Gio was born? Like, I'm so lost about that. They're like, oh my gosh, Brooklyn had a son with Dante. Gio is the son. But the big question is, where was Lois when he was born? I'm like, what is that going to add? Because when she talked about Miguel, isn't that when Ricky Martin played him? Is that who she's referring to?
That's what it had to be. It had to be because I think I started watching around, like I was watching back then. I think I might have been in high school and he was really popular back then.
So again, now we're going to research Miguel's tour, search Lois, and if we know where Lois was when Gio was born, then we'll know. And it's Dante and Brooklyn's baby. Like, help. Like, just help. No,
I cannot. But also, so brazen, talks to the grandfather to dig in to get more info. Ned just sharing freely where Lois is going on tour and who watched Brooklyn. And Carmine, that's like Gio's adopted mom.
I'm like, doesn't Ned not know the dynamic between Brooklyn and Lulu?
I guess not.
To think that it's weird. But I'm so excited to see what angle Tracy will have, because I'm like, you can't work with her. Like, if you find out that she's searching for the baby, like, is Tracy gonna work with Lulu? Because like Brooklyn's gonna hate that.
Oh yeah.
But she did kind of come in like, what are you up to? Like, she was a bit more stern,
which I appreciate. I just hope it stays in that tone.
I know. Okay, I'll say this about Lulu, that I think for her to have called out Dante, but I just appreciated the way that she defended Gio. And she kind of reminded Dante in a sarcastic way, which I think was well-deserved, about his parents and the fact that they weren't there, and they weren't there for good reason because they died.
Right? No, that was one part I definitely have to give her a nod, because she was very logical in that moment and spoke to him in a way that I feel he heard.
I will give her another nod before I make fun of her. So when Danny came to see her, I will say this. I was heartbroken hearing the way that Dante was talking about Danny and the fact that he was considering splitting the boys.
I know.
I was heartbroken. I'm like, what would Sam think? Like, how could you talk like that? Like, you said that you were family and you're that quick. Yeah. So what does that mean? Danny was Rocco's family and not yours? Like, you helped raise him and you were willing to disown him. What if he really was your son and your son made a mistake? Are you telling me you would just disown him?
I mean, it was really hard to watch, honestly, like all week long. And I was so glad that at the end of the week, we had a chance to see Rocco interact with people and speak, because I was just waiting for that moment where Rocco said, hey, I'm the one that put those drinks down my gullet. Like, I'm the one who made those choices. And yes, I'm suffering the consequences, but like, basically act right, Dad.
Well, yeah, because his behavior reflected back on Rocco, because Rocco doesn't want to make it seem like he's walking around blaming everybody, because his dad is walking around blaming everybody. Mm-hmm. And Rocco understands the situation, and it was a bad situation. Like, all of the adults stepped in. I kind of liked a lot of these like real moments, like when Carly caught Gio on the phone with Danny and asked to talk to Danny, knowing where Jason was.
I loved that so much.
Stepped into parents, and I do think that Sam would appreciate it. Like, I think there's a lot of respect in the end in terms for these like long-standing characters in terms of the Sam, Carly, Elizabeth. I think they are very capable of showing up for each other's kids. And so I liked, Carly's talk with Danny. Everybody had similar conversations. And Sasha also had her own talk with Danny. But I mean, after Dante unleashed on Gio, and then like watching Danny be so scared, like I understand taking responsibility, but do we really need to kind of be that way? Like, anyways, for me, it just kind of broke my heart, and I felt like it really dishonored Sam, but I think that Lulu made up for it. I feel like in that moment, like that's a time where I feel that Lulu honored Sam. And I'm not talking about the transplant. I'm talking about the fact that Sam showed up for her child. And I truly felt in that moment that Lulu was being really amazing and really extending like the love of a mother to another person's child. Like, I really felt she did that in that moment. She could see the good in Danny. She was reasonable with Danny. You could tell in her mind there was no question that they'd stop having a relationship. Even when she overheard them on the porch, she was so proud of the relationship they both established, and also just proud of them. Like, even though they made a mistake and it was a scary mistake, you couldn't help but tell that she was proud of who they were. And so for that, I'm like, that is awesome. But going back to the hospital. This girl was stunned. I don't think she knew what to do when her own life was happening to her. She has no problem inserting herself into other people's lives,
That's for sure.
And once her life was calm, meaning she got Charlotte back, she still couldn't kind of focus on her life. She just, boom, like was really focused on Brooklyn. And it was just funny. It was like, when she was sitting there with Rocco, it was like, okay, I don't. And then this whole thing about pointing fingers, I kind of felt in Lulu said, she's like, well, it wasn't me. I wasn't here for a couple of years, so I guess Dante doesn't. But it was so funny because I felt like when she got up to leave the hospital room, it's just like, I'm not saying, like, I think she was doing a great job. She stayed with her son. She was the more balanced one, while Dante was kind of losing it. He was losing it for both of them, but I just found it so odd to watch her so calm, and I felt like in my mind it was just Lulu uncomfortable, like being pulled back into her own life and not really knowing what to do with it because she spends so much time in other people's business.
That's a really good point because I felt that way too. Like something was definitely off and she didn't know how to navigate. You know, these are teenage problems. Usually you have time to catch up one step at a time and grow and learn with them. And she's just thrown into this. And I do think she handled it as best as she could. And I'm hoping that it won't, because we know how things go. But, you know, I was hoping that this will give her a glimpse as to the fact that who she could be. Dante yelled it at her, like, you are messing up your opportunity, this gift that you have. You're choosing to destroy relationships instead of building relationships. Like, at some point that has to land, hopefully.
I think it will after everything blows up, because I think what she believes she'll do is do Dante a favor, right? I think she thinks everyone is going to be happy. And I don't think it's going to go that way. And I don't really know how Dante is going to react, you know? Like, I don't know what his version of right and wrong is going to be. I don't know how he's going to feel when the dust settles about the role Lulu played and maybe understanding the stress that she put Brooklyn under. Like, I don't know, but I think it's only after that point things will change. What I really, really loved regarding this whole storyline was the conversation Jason had with Danny. Like, it was so shocking to hear him bring up AJ.
I know. It was really jarring because it's not a conversation that you think he would have, much less with his son, you know, talking about AJ being an alcoholic basically and just going down this really dark path. I mean, he did go into the dark path situation, but at the end of the day, it's always interesting to see Jason in that Quartermaine house, learning how to be a dad, being faced with the fact that he's not a great dad, and talking about his family.
But I mean, just the parallels, like, I don't even think it had hit me. The fact, like, for me, this was a storyline of, like, all right, like, this was about the whole Gio Dante thing, but it never really occurred to me that, like, Rocco and Danny went to a party and drinking was involved and there was some kind of, like, an incident. And then to have this conversation where Jason's like, yeah, my brother wasn't that much older than you when he really started drinking heavily. And then there was an accident and it impacted me, it impacted the whole family. Like, Jason's the one who tried to stop AJ and it ended up no longer being Jason, and those are two brothers who were supposed to look out for each other. And so I think it was just so fascinating, like I said, looking at the old storylines through today. Like, you never think that you're going to ever see these moments, you know, or watch a show long enough for Jason to be talking about it with his son. And like you pointed out, in the Quartermaine household, the conversation between Dante and Jason was hard. Like, Jason could tolerate a lot of things, but I can understand, right? Like, we as the audience saw the private conversation he had with Danny. And I think that, I think, of course, Jason, he said it himself. He wants to be more present. He wants to change his life. But I still think that even when Jason is more present, I think he has to embrace who he is. And I think he's always going to parent differently. And I don't think he's going to be the way, let's say, Sam was. Like, when Dante brought that up, Sam did something, what are you to do? And like, Jason did not feel the need to explain. He's like, I handled it. I spoke to him. He does get it. He wasn't going to give him the details. Yeah, he gets it. I told him about my brother. I told him about my accident. We talked about drinking heavily. Like, he didn't feel the need to do that. He understood that, like, Dante wasn't in a good place. But even when Dante brought that up, you just want to see something to ease your anxiety, right? And that's the whole point. You can't sit with the fact that, like, accidents can't happen and how helpless you were. You blamed everybody else's parents, all the other adults of the other children, but you didn't blame yourself at all. You know what I mean? You did it privately.
Exactly.
And, you know, when Sam tried her way to punish, and I get it, logically you want to give a consequence, but it pushed Danny away. it caused more problems. He broke more rules. Like, it didn't work. And
Yes.
Jason understands him in a different way. And Sam did an excellent job with Danny. They had a relationship. It was rockier. And of course it is. She's the main parent there who has to adjust every time Danny is changing and growing. But Jason is a different person, and he does know how to connect with Danny in a different way. And I do think that even if Jason's more involved, his parenting will never be something that Dante will approve of.
No, it's not a specific way of doing things. It's not very traditional,
No.
right?
No, and it's not being a friend. Like, he kept saying, you act like his friend. I'm like, no, 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 no.
No.
Treating a child with respect is not the same as being their friend. And Jason speaks to him very directly and gives space for Danny to talk and express himself. That is not the same as being a friend.
I totally agree.
Oh man, but there was like a lot happening this week. Cody needed to, unwind because he was part of the whole drama too. He couldn't really
Yeah,
reach
big
Dante.
time.
He just wanted to chill, have a drink after all of this like Rocco drama. But he ended up coming across some interesting info.
I love his like underlying storylines where he like knows so many things.
Like, this is not good.
No, it's awful.
No, and I mean, I feel bad for Molly in this one. She's the one who's going to lose the most. I was fascinated, though, with the shot that they did, because they do a lot of shots with the General Hospital sign in it, but they've never done it at a pickup, right? Like, Ava picked him up from the hospital,
Yes.
and they even tried to add a little ambulance sound effect.
I loved it so hard.
But I loved the shot. But I mean, what did you think of Rick's face? Because they had a conversation and it was kind of tense.
There's a lot of moments that I'm not really sure how far he can go with this. Ava and him, because they're quite similar in personality, but Ava's going to protect herself just as Rick is going to protect himself. So they're already butting heads. So what happens when everybody gets pushed a little bit too far? Who's going to be the one? Like, I almost feel like Ava is going to be the one to like rat Rick out because she wants all the money and then she could just move on with her life.
I think Ava she's not going to be able to hide her dissatisfaction. I think there will be a rift.
No.
But as they have shown us, unlike Ava, Rick can strategize and think 20 steps ahead. Remember, he
Yes.
set up the accounts. He's going to be
So he
careful
has the power there.
to cover himself. So I do think if anyone is going to get screwed over, it'll probably be Ava. I think he's more strategic when he has to be. He is Rick. Like, a lot of him going after Alexis, it has to do with his anger about Christina, right? He feels like she's
Yes.
out of control. But remember, Christina, he's mad at Christina, obviously. I mean, he almost died as a result of her actions. And there are some legitimate things. He doesn't like the way that Alexis handled Christina and Molly, but there is other layers to it. Christina is a symbol of Sonny. It's a symbol of his absence in Molly's life. So a lot of this has to do with all of those things, all of that anger. But when Christina, this person that you feel is like a rival, is actually extending an olive branch and giving you the possibility of a different life where you get along with your daughter's sister,
Yes.
and she's going to keep it in check, and she really is going to like turn over a new leaf, and there is no anger. I mean, something Rick, I feel, wants more than anything is a family and to belong. And I think
Absolutely.
and he was fine with the truce, right? He was fine with the truce until he realized Christina was involved in the accident.
Yes.
So I mean, like, if Christina's really, if she's really turning over a new leaf, and they have these moments where the family can actually hang out together, and everybody at this point is willing to do anything for Molly, right? Rick's going to do anything for
Yes.
Molly. The conversation with Lucky where he reminded Christina, didn't you say you saw this at a second chance, that you want to bring the family together rather than cause more problems? So I mean, if Rick has that, I think that's how we see him align with Christina over Ava.
Okay. I like that. I can see it unfold.
But I don't know. I really thought that Christina would have been sent away at some point. You know what I mean? We talk about the legal strategy of it all, unless Rick manages to destroy whatever evidence to protect Christina in the end. But at this point, if Alexis knows, why are you hiding the fact that you know?
Okay, I was going to ask you that exact question because I'm like, what am I missing here? Because I don't understand why she won't be honest with Christina. It would make so much more sense, and then they can work together, create a strategy. Like, I am at a loss.
Honestly, you're not alone in that. And I don't think they have a concrete reason. They really, really don't. I mean, she had flimsy reasons. I mean, not really flimsy, but more emotional reasons by saying the girls are getting along. You know, she got lost in that, right? She was a mom, not a lawyer. But at this point, with Christina having found out about it, no, it doesn't make any sense. But I guess at this point, she's not going to kick a gift horse in the mouth by Christina coming and saying, hey, you know, I forgive you. I guess if Christina knows, it means she's going to have to go through with it. I think that's the whole point.
Okay.
Well, remember last time they tried to cover up a murder together? Christina was all confessy. I heard it. It sounds funny. So maybe that's why. I think maybe I guess that makes a little bit of sense. That Alexis, her only focus is keeping her out of jail, and she'll do anything. And if she loops Christina in on the problem, Christina will try to fix the problem.
She's terrible at fixing things, so yes.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
she'll fix it in the only way she knows how, which is to cause more problems.
Yeah, totally.
On the other hand, you have Joss, who's doing her best not to make a mess and try to get through this mission as seamlessly as possible. Her handler thinks she messed up, but like, who cares about the USB not being placed at exactly the right place?
Yes, exactly.
Look, I'm happy that like Emma and Joss are having these conversations, but at the same time, sometimes with Emma, I'm like, you gotta stop. Like, why are you shocked that Jocelyn's not the same person she was when she was 10? It's a bit
Honestly,
weird.
I cannot. It is strange. Like, Lulu is stuck at 4 years ago, but Emma is stuck at like 12 years ago. Like,
man.
make it make sense.
But now I feel less guilty because now it turns out it's not like taking away this internship robs Emma of like her future or like a dream job. It was really more that she was on a mission. But like, if she feels that she's better than Joss because she stands for something and she believes that Joss is spoiled. But now she's like, okay, she's not. But what's going to happen when Joss is the one who takes down a guy that she's trying to take down?
How dare you steal my dream that I just got because my life was too perfect.
I just got it. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I love when she's like shocked. She's like, oh wow, so like the second time a boyfriend died changed you? Really? You reevaluated your life? It's like like I just can't. Like life through the eyes of Emma? No. Like when you
Is wild.
it's kind of like I don't remember what character. I mean, look, she reminds me of Anna, you know. But you put Emma
Yes.
next to Joss, you're like, I just can't with this. But put Emma with Gio, and I'm like, right, this is just right.
They're adorable.
But Joss got a lot of information, so I look forward to seeing how it's gonna go. But I definitely hope that relieves her of whatever like guilt she has. I think Joss wanted to know more.
Yes.
But I felt I had all the answers I needed to know, and I don't want to know more because, like Brennan said, the WSB wants his tech, and at that point I was like, okay, like, I don't need to talk about this guy anymore. I don't even need to hear any more details. He's doing some crap that Emma doesn't like, but at the end of the day, you
Exactly.
want him to finish his mission because you want his tech. Done. I don't need to hear too much about this anymore.
Next story, please.
Yes, just get to it. Get to it.
I love that. No, I feel exactly the same. Oh my gosh. Did we cover all the things? Talk about all the stuff?
I think
Yes.
so. There was a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for like Drew and Willow's demise. But before that time comes, I'm going to give an early star to Sasha because she had amazing conversations with not only Willow, but also with Danny. Like, I love seeing her, you know, kind of parent Danny or be like, you know, I know it's not really Jason's baby, but I love that she's in the mix. So she's in the family, right? With Michael and the whole bit. And then just how honest the voice of the audience that she is with Willow.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the thing about Sasha, though. Like, she's so part of the family. She's deeply embedded. Like, the moment she sacrificed her relationship so Michael can have Wiley, she was in it. Like, in it forever. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, big time.
So she's more of like that ride or die, and it's not something Willow could ever be.
No, never.
No. Gone with the wind, that one.
Wherever the wind and the words of a wise man take her. Okay. What is okay? So like stars to like everybody. Like I have like a slimy star to Drew because he just does it so well. It is unbelievable.
Oh yeah, the eyes. That's what I mean. Like, of course he grosses me out, but when you like own your villainy, I have respect for that.
Right? I feel ya. And who is your cutie pie mention gonna go to this week?
Oh, I can't believe I'm saying this.
Oh my gosh. I'm
No,
scared.
well, it's more about Danny and Rocco,
Okay.
but it does involve the fact that Lulu overheard them being sweet. And to be honest, I can't believe I'm saying it, but it really is going to be Lulu. I think she deserves it because I think she really honored Sam in that moment. Like Danny had a rough go, Jason stood by him, but like I felt like that was a really nice echo of the love that Sam gave Rocco, and we know she would have given Rocco no matter what Rocco did.
Yes, yeah, I have to agree.
I
It was the
know.
most human. No, I know.
Yeah.
It's like the most human she's been, and it's what we've been looking for too. We've been talking about this since she woke up. Like, one, spend time with your kids. Second, pay it forward.
But having Danny at her house too, right? Like that too is a lot of what we wanted. So, yeah,
Yes,
I think kind
absolutely.
of them with Lulu, I would say.
Oh my gosh, folks, that's a wrap. Have a fantastic weekend. Bye.
Bye.